The story of IBM and the Holocaust has been shattered into 1,000 shards. Only by piecing them all together did I erect a towering picture window, permitting me to view what really occurred. That verified account is retold in this book. Okay, in my pursuit, I received extraordinary cooperation from every private, public and governmental source in every country. Sadly, the only refusal came from IBM itself, which buffeted my request for access to documents and interviews. I was not alone. Since World War II, the company has steadfastly refused to cooperate with outside authors. Virtually every recent book on IBM, whether written by esteemed business historians or ex-IBM employees, includes a reference to the company's refusal to cooperate with the author in any way. Ultimately, I was able to arrange proper access. Hundreds of IBM documents were placed at my disposal. I read them all. Behind every text footnote is a file folder with all the hard copy documentation needed to document every sentence in this book at a moment's notice. Moreover, I assembled a team of hair-splitting, nitpicking, adversarial researchers and archivists to review each and every sentence, collectively ensuring that each fact and fragment of a fact was backed up with the necessary black and white documents. In reconstructing the facts, I was guided on every page by two principles: context and consequences. For instance, although I enjoyed access to volumes of diplomatic and intelligent information, I was careful to concentrate on what was known publicly in the media about atrocities and anti-Jewish conditions in Europe. Okay, I'm going to move down to the bottom of the page. This is page 15. More than the obscurity of the document, such an investigation would require expertise in history of the Holocaust before and after the war began, the history of post-industrial revolution, mechanization, the history of technology, and more specifically, the archaic punch card system, as well as an understanding of Reich economics, multinational corporations, and a grasp of financial collusion. In addition, one would need to juxtapose the information for numerous countries before assembling the complete picture. And okay, just as important is the fact that until I examined the IBM documents, that half of the screen was totally obscured. Again, the documents do not speak by themselves, only in ensemble. I was fortunate to have an understanding of Reich economics and multinational commerce from my earlier book. The name of his previous book was the Transfer Agreement, as well as background in the computer industry and years of experience as an investigative journalist specializing in corporate misconduct. It sounds like he had a really good background for this. I approached this project as a typical, if not grandiose, investigation of corporate conduct, with one dramatic difference: the conduct impacted on lives and deaths of millions. Okay, now this is, let me see, how much time do I have here? I have limited time here, so I have to hurry up. Okay, let me see. Gathering my pre-publication experts reviewer was a process in itself. I sought not only the leading historians of the Holocaust, but niche experts on such topics as Vinci, France, Romania, and census and persecution. But I also consulted business historians, technical specialists, accountants, legal sources on reparations and corporate war crimes, in an investigator from original Nuremberg persecution teams, a wartime military intelligence, a technology expert, and even an ex-FBI special agent with expertise in financial crimes. I wanted the prismatic view of all. Changing perspective was perhaps the dominant reason why the relationship between IBM and the Holocaust has never been explored. When I first wrote the transfer agreement in 1984, no one wanted to focus on assets. Now everyone talks about assets. The formative years for most Holocaust scholarship was before the computer age and well before the age of information. Everyone now possesses an understanding of how technology can be utilized in the affairs of war and peace. We can now go back and look at the same documentation in a new light. Many of us have become enraptured in the age of computerization and the age of information. I know I have. But now I am consumed with a new awareness that for me, as the son of a Holocaust survivor, brings me to a whole new consciousness. I call it the age of realization. As we look back and examine technology's wake, unless we understand how the Nazis acquired the names, more lists will be compiled against more people. The story of IBM and the Holocaust is just a beginning. I could have written 20 books with documents I uncovered, one for every country in Europe. I estimate there are 100,000 more documents scattered in basements and corporate archives around the United States and Europe. Corporative activists should take note. These documents are related to a crime. See, this is a crime scene in a way. These documents are related to a crime and must not be moved. It sounds like a crime scene, doesn't it? If he's saying that they should not be moved. They should not be moved, they should not be tampered with or destroyed. They must be transferred to the appropriate archival institutions that can assure immediate and undelayed access to scholars, war crimes, prosecutors, so the accountability process can come. Only through, it says see major sources, only through exposing and examining what really occurred can the world of technology finally adapt the well-worn motto, never again. Okay, now I'm going to the first chapter. This is chapter 1. And let's see, I'm going to just read a few pages here. Okay, it says veils of smoke hung above Bergen-Belsen. It says it's Bergen hyphen Belsen, Belsen. And this is a concentration camp, Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Many of the exhausted prisoners, incident from torture and starvation, slumped lifelessly, waiting to fade into death. But most of the 60,000 human beings squeezed into this unimaginable clearing amongst the evergreens were still running from place to place, performing assigned chores quickly, proving their strength and viability for yet another day of existence. They were just trying to survive from day to day, it sounds like. Surviving the moment was their quest. That's so sad. And we see some of this kind of stuff going on in China too, under the hands of the brutal dictator, the Chinese Communist Party. I almost want to say they're kind of going through a Holocaust right now. And that's what's coming for us, because they just implemented 6G technology. And from what I heard, that when the 6G comes, and California's trying to implement that, what happens is I think it kind of awakens that transhuman thing in you because of the mRNA in the body. It's going to activate something where they're going to be able to control your mind and your bodies like a transhuman. That's what I understand. If I'm understanding it correctly, that's what I heard because of the COVID injections. The mRNA, when the 6G comes, it's going to ignite something in people's bodies that is like, in line with the transhumanism. They're going to be able to control minds and bodies that way. And there's a lot of people that are being slaughtered over there in China. It's so sad. They're going through something like this. this, and it's all because of this technocratic fantasy, honestly. Globalism, that's why we need, this is what I'm talking about when on the other video, when I said we have to confront this tyranny. We need to we need to shut it down. We need to go after it because they're coming for us. When Trump leaves, they're coming for us. We need to understand that. This is no joke. Okay, this nightmare this is that concentration camp, Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. A special hell on earth created by Nazi Germany. Okay, at the rear of the camp, just meters from its back fence, stood a solitary guard tower. Its crossbarred wood frame rose from 25 feet in the air, looking down from this commanding perch. Let me see if I want to read this. I'm limited on time, so I'm trying to hurry here. You know what I want to, I'm going to jump over, I might go back to this on my next recording, but what I wanted to mention, because I think that this is very important. Okay, I looked up that concentration camp. It's called Bergen, Bergen hyphen Belsen. Okay, I looked that up, and you know what I found out to my surprise? When how I was mentioning in the other video I talked about Anne Frank, the Anne Frank story, that I was being led, I believe, by the Holy Spirit to watch the movie. It's called The Hiding Place. Years ago, because I was dealing with the spirit of tyranny, and I kind of started to recognize it. I think that's why I was wanting to see that movie, because I felt like I was under tyranny. I was being persecuted by people that around here that are operating in a spirit of tyranny. Here in California, I'm being targeted. So, I just wanted to mention that, and that's what I'm talking about. And anyways, so I look up, I saw the movie The Hiding Place, and I was like, I need to watch this. I just felt like I needed to watch it. And so listen to this. I did a little Google search, and this is what I found out about this concentration camp, and it surprised me what I found out here in the end. It says Bergen-Belsen was a Nazi concentration camp located in Lower Saxony, northern Germany, southwest of the town of Bergen, near, I don't know if it's pronounced Celle, Celle, or Calais maybe, or originally established in 1940 as a prisoner of war, a POW camp by the German military. It was later taken over by the SS in April 1943 and converted into a concentration camp. It served as a holding and exchange camp for Jews, political prisoners, Roma, Jehovah's Witness, gay men, and other deemed enemies of the Nazi regime. The camp became infamous for its horrific conditions, especially in late 1944 and early 1945, when tens of thousands of prisoners were evacuated from their camps as Allied forces advanced, were crammed into sites. Overcrowding, starvation, rampant disease, including typhus, dysentery, and tuberculosis, led to the deaths of at least 52,000 people, with over 35,000 dying in the first few months of 1945 alone. Amongst the most well-known victims, listen to this, Anne Frank. Amongst the most well-known victims were Anne Frank and her sister Margot, who died in February or March of 1945. Isn't that interesting? I was really surprised to see that. Okay, now, it mentioned that what they were doing was, it served as a holding and exchange camp for Jews, political prisoners. Who comes to mind when you hear political prisoners? What do we got going on? Tina Peters, she's currently a political prisoner. Who else was a political prisoner? What I would consider a political prisoner is Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. They were imprisoned because people like them. Well, I would say even Tina Peters. All of these people are people that they will not bow to the corrupted system of government that they were confronting, and Tina Peters was confronting that as well with the voting system, and they were in prison for it, political prisoners. Okay, so we see that at work. We see that at play right now, and then also there's something else here I wanted to mention. I wanted to focus in on. Okay, let me read a little bit further. This is on page. I jumped over to page 22. Okay, I believe this person's name is either Kim. Took special notice one day when the next recording I do, I'll backtrack to where I was at, and I'll cover all this again. But I feel like this is really important. I want to cover this for today. Kim took special notice one day when 5 women escaped from Bergen-Belsen. Angry SS guard vowed to recapture them. They resented reporting the prisoner departures in column 34 of the punch card formas as Code 7 escaped. He became fascinated with a young Dutch seamstress. Who was she? He journeyed, and he is this person named Chiem, Cheim. Who was she? He journeyed. Her journey began in the Westerbork camp. Went to Auschwitz. She was born May 10th, 1924. No name, just a number. See, they were just a number. There was no name, just a number. But as I was okay, so I'm going to continue on with this little bit that I was going to share for today. This is a recording. This is Deanna's studio. This is the book club, Book Highlights, where we are discussing IBM and the Holocaust. The author is Edwin Black, and I wanted to share just a little. I was trying to finish up what I wanted to share here. On page 22, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this because I jumped ahead because I wanted to share this for today. But the next time I do a recording, I'm going to backtrack, and I'm going to be covering what came before this, and then I'll discuss this again. Okay, so, all right. So it says there's a man, his name is Cheim, I think, or Cheim. It's Cheim. And I believe he was one of like the guards or something. Let me see what it says here. His name was Rudolf Cheim. He was assigned to work in the Labor Service Office. Okay. So, and it says, and it's just a little piece here that I'm going to share, but I feel like this is really important. I wanted to share this, this one little bit here. It says, he became fascinated with a young Dutch seamstress. Who was she? Her journey began in the Westerbork camp. Went to Auschwitz. She was born May 10th, 1924. No name, just a number. 53752. But who was 53752? Cheim wondered. Did she not have a name, only a number? Oh, look at that. I was just reminded of, anyways, I won't go there. I notice with some people, like nowadays, I don't know if it's part of that Illuminati cult or what, but they give their children, like Elon Musk, X, and then his daughter has another name, similar, something like that. It's kind of odd. Anyways, I know that's a different topic for totally different topic here. But anyways, they of course they received the number here because they were assigned this number. They wanted them to only be a number. They didn't want them to have a name because it makes it too personal, right? It makes them human, and they're trying to dehumanize them by assigning a number. Okay, it says, but who was 53752? Cheim wondered. did she not have a name, only a number. Kim soon began to understand the truth. Hundreds of thousands of human beings were being identified. They were being sorted, they were being assigned, they were being transported by the means of the Hollerith system. Now, it refers to this machine, this piece of equipment as Hollerith, because that's the last name of the man from IBM that created that machine. So it refers to him as the Hollerith system. Okay, numbers and punch cards had, okay, numbers and punch cards had dehumanized them all, he thought. Numbers and punch cards would probably kill them all. But Kiem never understood where the Hollerith system came from. Okay, so they assigned these numbers, instead of calling them by their name, they called them by a number, and they did it for the intention of dehumanizing them. Okay, so when you are dehumanizing a person, what it says dehumanization is the process, the practice, or the act of denying full humanity. This is a key point. Listen to the noise in the background. They watch everything I do. I'm here amongst tyranny. I'm in a situation where I'm dealing with tyranny for 14 years now. I have the window open on purpose. So anyways, that's my way of exposing them, folks. And that's what I'm talking about, is we have to expose this. When we have tyranny coming at us, I don't care if it's the Chinese Communist Party or who it is, on somebody on a personal note, you have to expose it. Otherwise, we got nothing, right? We have to expose it in order to dismantle it. That's what I'm doing here. I'm doing this on purpose because I want to dismantle it. I want to chip away. I can't do it, of course. I'm not going to think that I can dismantle it myself, but I want to be one who's going to chip away, and I think that everybody should be chipping away at tyranny right now. Because if we don't, we have to think about what's coming next after Trump leaves, okay? Dehumanization is the process, the practice, or the act of denying full humanity to others. And we see that with the technocrats, right? The way they very flippantly say, oh yeah, it's going to snuff out humanity. Very, very, very cold and calculating. Elon Musk makes these comments like that. Like it doesn't even, like he's so numb. He says it like in just a very numb fashion. Like it does, like there's no kind of prick in his heart or his conscience, no kind of empathy to protect humanity. The technocratic fantasy, the money, the rising to power, making them gods by going along with this, because we're making them gods if we go along with this. And the money, the power, the lust for money and power that they have, that's more important than preserving humanity. Okay, that's why I refer to Elon and Peter Thiel as sons of the apartheid. Because they have that spirit operating through them. If they can sit there and think it's okay to snuff out humanity and deplete the job market, and replace it with robotics and all that. Okay, along with the cruelty and suffering that accompany it, it involves perceiving individuals or groups as lacking essential human qualities, such as secondary emotions, mental capacities, thereby placing them outside the bounds of moral concern. See, don't we see that with the technocrats when they speak about what's coming with artificial intelligence and the Palantir and just everything, the 6G technology? Okay, that's all part of it. It involves perceiving individuals or groups as lacking essential human qualities, such as secondary emotions and mental capacities, thereby placing them outside the bounds of moral concern. In this definition, any act or thought that regards a person as either other than, othering, you hear that term, to other somebody, other than and less than human, constitutes dehumanization. Okay. Dehumanization can be overt or subtle, and typically manifests in two primary forms: animalistic dehumanization, treating people like they're a bunch of animals, like they're not important, which denies uniquely human traits like civility, culture, or rationality, and likens others to animals. And now some people behave like animals, like these tyrants, these people that are operating out of a spirit of tyranny. Actually, they're the ones that behave like animals, right? But they want to treat us as if we're less than human, like we're not important. Robots are more important than human beings are to the technocrats. Okay, which denies which denies uniquely human traits like civility, culture, or rationality, and likens others to animals, and mechanistic dehumanization, which denies traits of human nature such as warmth, emotion, individuality, portraying others as objects or machines. Okay, so I wanted to share that. That's what I wanted to share. And alrighty. Okay, so that is primarily, I wanted to get to that point today where I shared that, those 2 points there about that concentration camp. That's the concentration camp that Anne Frank came from, and all this stuff. I was shocked to see that, because I know in reading the book I saw there was a lot of different concentration camps. It's kind of interesting that she came from that one. That's what I wanted to share today. And I wanted just to remind everyone that the change that we bring about right now, as President Trump is in the office, as he's there right now, I know that at times the Trump administration is open to, like when the American people are voicing concerns about certain things, we've seen them take that into consideration and make adjustments and don't go along with something. And I really believe that we need to be speaking up right now about these types, especially all this stuff with the technocrats. We need to speak up, because a lot of them, they're Satanists. And Satan wants to snuff out humanity. That's why Elon Musk is okay to in a very coldly and a very calculating demeanor, just say that humanity is going to be snuffed out, so that they can have, and ultimately so that they can have their little sci-fi fantasy at our expense. Okay, so we need to remember that the change that we bring about right now, that we fight for, just like Texas, they're fighting for change. They're an example right there. The change